Halito Chimachukma, this is Chief Steve coming at y'all with another episode of True Story. Before we get into it, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Make sure you hit that notification bell as well, so you know whenever I drop these bombs, you'll be the first one to grab them. Alright, got a pretty interesting one for you guys lined up today, so without further ado, let's get into it. Howdy do y'all, Chief Steve back with another one. Today I want to talk about the foundational Black American label and what exactly is it. I just heard about this term maybe within the past year or so, when I really started getting active back into social media, and I noticed that it came with the notion that we are all indigenous to this land. At least that's what I thought it was, and that's what people were portraying it as. And as you start to research and you learn more about things and you realize how things really are and who the American Indians are and what it means to be indigenous, you start to see some red flags within this label and within this movement, particularly the divide between American Indians of the mainland and American Indians in the surrounding islands and Central and South America. So this is a particular group, and one can even say that it's a bit of a cult. I've heard people, explain it that way. But some would venture off to say that, this is a movement that is purely dedicated to what they call delineation. And delineation meaning to separate or isolate themselves from others who may be considered, a monolith of sorts, and to basically create one's own identity and claim it and solidify it, make it, presently known that we are different from everyone, in which I have no problem with that. But something that I've always said and that I've always let people know is that with delineation must come declassification. And a lot of people tend to look over that last part, declassification. Now, with declassification, that means to renounce all reclassifications and to return to the original identity of your heritage. And rather, you've done your genealogy and you know what particular tribe you come from, and you represent that tribe and, represent that lineage, that honor. You do that. And that doesn't mean you have to become federally recognized, you have to get a tribal membership or anything of that nature. But knowing who you are by what your people have told you, by the paper trail that your people have shown you, and proudly claiming that heritage, and in a general sense, understanding and overstanding that we, as a people who are indigenous to this land, are legally called American Indian. And we've been through the different definitions and things, and we're going to get into that again today, showing that when you call yourself Black or African American, you are displacing yourself from this land. You are no longer recognizing yourself or being recognized as an indigenous person. And now, if you're never known to acknowledge yourself as an indigenous person to begin with, then I understand. I overstand. And at the same time, when you come into this research and this knowledge, and you begin to do your ancestry and really trace your roots and see that you have no ties to no other landmass, that indigeneity becomes heritage. It becomes a birthright, and that's something that you should feel compelled within all good moral understanding to claim as your own, because it is you. And it's no part of it. It's no, you're not part this, you're not part that. If you have never known anything else outside of this land, your people, and that includes the West Indies as well. That includes Latin America, South America, Central America as well. We are America. America is not a country. It is a continent. It is a region. Okay? And a lot of people forget that. And when you call yourself an American, you are calling yourself an Aboriginal, an Aborigine, a copper-colored person, a copper-colored Aborigine from America. And when you say America, it encompasses all of America. From the top of the north, the tip of the north, to the bottom of the south. And all of the islands surrounding. Okay? America is bigger than Africa. Just putting it on a continental scale. When you look at North America all the way down to South America, everything in between, that is all America. You are considered an American. You got your South Americans, you got your Central Americans, and they have their different regions and nationalities. Yet and still, they are, if they are indigenous, and they have known no other place outside of that landmass, they are still considered American Indians. And we're going to show you that going forward. But for now, we want to tackle this foundational Black American label, because there's been a lot of talk lately that has to do with this being a cult, this being something that is divisive. So it's turning something that's starting to turn into a hate group of sorts. And I know some people, on social media that follows me that claim to be foundationally Black Americans, and they don't exemplify that hatred. And some others do kind of buy into it when they throw their jokes here and there with other American Indians from other regions and other parts of America, and they play the division game, separation. And I know on a nationality standpoint, it's important, especially in this day and age, where you have borders, to recognize who you are on a national level, and to really, be proud of who you are and claim your birthright, because there are some, not saying that it's all, but there are some who do come out here from other parts of the continent, or you want to call it a diaspora or whatever. I don't even really like that term too much. But there are people who come from other parts and regions of the continent and try to claim a culture that is not theirs. And now, when I say that we are all American Indians, I am not stating that our culture and the way that we do things is a monolithic thing. By no means. It is not. And I stand on that, and you can mark my words. We are different. We are all different. We all have different cultures. all different tribes have different vibes. You can see that from region-wise, even here in the United States, the so-called United States. You can see this region-wise from the West Coast to the East Coast, down south, the Northeast. Canada got their own vibe. Mexico got their own vibe. Brazil, they have their own vibe. Peru have their own vibe. Cuba have their own vibe. Dominican Republic, Haiti, they have their own vibe. Puerto Rico, they have their own vibe. Jamaica. Everybody has different cultures. We all come from different places, and our diversity is beautiful. But that doesn't stop them from being an indigenous person of America, an indigenous copper-colored person, if they have known their lineage to not come from any other place. Now, that's on an individual level, whether they claim that or not. But as a whole, those who know who they are, the Caribs that know who they are, the Boricua who know who they are, the Oaxaca, the different, Latin indigenous people in different regions who know who they are. The indigenous Canadians who know who they are. Those are all American Indians. Okay? Legally, they are American Indians. They are indigenous. Lawfully, they are American Indian. They are indigenous. And that is the proper definition that is in the Office of Personnel Management, the U.S. Department of Personnel Management. That is how race and ethnicity is categorized today. Now, with that being said, Black, African American, these are two labels on the same line that literally is defined as a person being a part of a racial group, a subracial group in Africa. So that's where I have a problem with the whole foundational Black American. There is no such thing as a foundational Black American. Because to call yourself Black is to remove yourself from the foundation of which this continent stands on, which is the soil. You remove yourself from the soil when you label yourself as this. And those who claim it know it. Some do, and some don't. But I'll say those who claim it, those who have created this term, and those who have coined this term, those who have made this a popular thing amongst our people, the gatekeepers, if you will, they know this. Because as you see here, they have a website that describes exactly what that is, what foundational Black Americans are. But before we get into that, I want to show you a clip that basically explains on top surface, gives the surface definition of what a foundational Black American is. And this is the definition that I believe a lot of our people run with, and a lot of our people, they stand on. Because let's be clear. We are still in a state of identity crisis, and me making these videos and others who are bringing these different things to light are currently in the process of trying to correct this by bringing awareness to our people of the things that's going on, because a lot of people are starting to catch whiff that this is becoming another form of reclassification to remove us from the soil. But before that knowledge of awareness came, there was a definition that was given a while back that people have ran with and have really, turned this into a problem as far as making it very divisive. And like I said, claiming your culture and being proud of your culture as an individual and as a group, as far as different regions go, and being a part of the mainland, what I call the mainland, the United States of America. I call it the mainland because this is where I'm from. It's where a lot of our people are from that are claiming this foundational Black American nonsense. This is the mainland, and we have our own culture. We have our own vibe. And even within that culture and vibe, we have different culture and vibes, stemming from different parts of the region all the way down to the nucleus, to different families. Not every family moves the same. We can all touch and agree on common ground, but we all move to a different beat of our own drum. And when it comes down to it, when it comes down to getting together and staying together, that's something that we have yet to perfect. But yet at the same time, when the proverbial shit hits the fan and it's time to stand on business, we have gotten together over the generations and became a powerhouse, and have made great moves and great strides as a people. And yeah, some can say that we've done it under the Black label, we've done it under the Negro, the colored, Yet these are all reclassifications. But once we step into our true power, our true identity, which is American Indian, which is the Aborigine, the copper-colored Aborigine of America, that is when we can all come together, no matter how different our cultures are, recognizing our indigeneity, recognizing our brothers and sisters from the other side, recognizing our brothers and sisters next door to us, acknowledging their differences, and at the same time able to come on common ground and get things established, get things done, while respecting each other's culture. That doesn't mean that one has to submit one's culture for another. One has to self-abdicate to become a monolith of any sort. It's not that. It's all coming together on a common ground, and that common ground is our indigeneity. But if we continue to preach division and divisiveness, it ain't gonna work. Because whether you want to admit it or not, being a foundational Black American, look, you got people who have culture and roots from different parts of the continent. You can't just say, oh, well, you're the only people that's born in the United States. And well, what about that person that's been in the United States, born in the United States, been there all their life, yet they have an ancestor. They got that one ancestor that came from the islands. They got that one ancestor that comes from Latin America. You're going to discard them and everything that they've done and everything that they've accomplished here on this land? Who are you to discredit that person and rob that person of their birthright because they found that they have another American Indian from another region of the continent in their lineage? That's disrespectful, and that's off code. And what you're about to realize is that this foundational Black American label may not be what you think or what you thought it was. So before we get into the website, we're going to go into Tariq Nasheed's interview that he's done, where he's explaining what a foundational Black American is. Okay? So let's pause for the cause, and then we're going to move forward to that.
Now, you mentioned FBA a couple times.
Yeah.
This is a term that I think I first heard about this term maybe 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a book or an ebook about?
Yeah, I got a book. I got a book. Well, I got a book really talking about my experiences. It's called Foundational Black American Race Beta.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And talk about this term. Where did it come from, and what inspired that book?
The term Foundational Black American, I really got that term from Claude Anderson. I'm a big student of Claude Anderson, and I would chop it up with him, not just in my movies, but I would have him on my podcast, and he would talk about how unique Native Black Americans are. He would use the term Native Black Americans.
That right there is a red flag. And Native Black Americans, we understand that when you call yourself a Native, anybody can be a Native. Anyone can be a Native. A Native is nothing more than a person who came from one place and is now set roots in another. So when you call yourself a Native, you're still giving way to the misinterpretation of your heritage by leaving room for things such as the out of Africa theory to still be a prevalent basis or synopsis as to who you are and where you might come from. Anybody can be a Native. I live in California. I was born in California. You can say that I'm indigenous to California. And when I moved to Texas, or I moved to DC, I become a DC native. I become a Texas native. Because I'm from one place, but I moved to this next place here. I've become a native to that particular place. It's a place that I originally wasn't a part of. I'm not, unless I have ancestral roots there, I am not indigenous to that particular state or region. You know, or a better way to say it, since we want to go on keep it, you know, as United States, and you know, me living in the United States and then going down and settling down in Jamaica because property's cheaper. So I started living in Jamaica. I'm a Jamaican native. I'm not indigenous to Jamaica. That is not where I come from. So let's understand where this native and Aborigine and indigenous, there's a difference. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, a native, it cannot be an Aborigine. Okay? So that's red flag number one.
And he would talk about how unique we are as far as our lineage. We are a unique group, which is true. And I started using the term Native Black American, but sometimes that term would confuse people because they thought, well, do you mean a Cherokee who's mixed with black? Do you mean a Choctaw who's mixed with black? So that term would be somewhat confusing. So I said, let's do another term. Let's tighten that term up so that there won't be any confusion. So
right there, he's already creating the separation between those indigenous Aborigine tribes and black. He's looking at, since native has been programmed into him because he is an avid student of the scholar. He only sees native, those tribes, as native tribes. And we know that these tribes are not natives. They are indigenous Aborigine tribes. Now, those who are running those particular tribes and have federalized and so-called civilized these tribes, these have become native political parties. He's talking about native political parties now, and he's comparing it to a misnomer for the Aborigine. A misnomer that displaces us from this land. Hence why he's saying, oh, Cherokee and black, Choctaw and black. Look, we know, those who know that there is no black. There is no black land. There is no black people. There are no black people. There is no such thing as a black race. Okay? So if you're a Choctaw, you see that in your lineage. You're a Choctaw. You are a Choctaw. You are not a Choctaw, a black Choctaw, or Choctaw and black. You see Aniawea, Cherokee in your lineage. You are Aniawea. You are Cherokee. You're not Choctaw or Cherokee and black. Black is a misnomer. And now that's where the confusion is coming in, that he's failing to realize. That is the confusion. And he's adding to that confusion by doing what he says next.
Foundational instead of native, because black people, we are the founders of this nation, meaning we're the foundation. We built this nation from scratch. So white people couldn't even say that they did that. But
you changed that term?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I came up with the term foundational black American based on native black American.
He came up with the term foundational black American based on native black American. And what did I just tell you what a native is? A native cannot be Aborigine to this land. A native is not from the soil. You cannot be native and be indigenous from the soil from the beginning. Natives migrated to where they are. That's how they became native to where they are. So how is somebody who was here from the beginning a native? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. What I see in front of me, what you should see on your screen, is another Jesse Jackson. It's another Stokely Carmichael. It's just another player in this game that has been rigged to keep us displaced from our indigeneity, from our indigenous heritage, from our land. Okay? But let's keep going. Forgive me for the train if you hear the train. I'm on the other side of the tracks here. I live, next to the train tracks. Let's keep going. This is going to be a long video, by the way. So if you are here with me this long, I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're liking what you see so far.
Claude Anderson.
Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
It's been taken off. I go on Clubhouse and there's these really interesting debates between foundational black Americans and black immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. And it gets a little nasty sometimes.
It does get nasty, yeah.
And it's sometimes a little offensive. Me being that I have roots. My roots are in the Caribbean, mm-hmm. but my roots also go to slavery. In mm-hmm. fact, I could trace my roots to the actual name of the slave that is a descendant on my dad's side named Julian Alonso, who was a runaway slave from an island called Curacao. Not too many people can name the person in their family who was that slave. So I feel like my history and my background is very similar to foundational Black Americans, but there's this divide now. And I think maybe the divide, some people saying the divide is becoming more severe because of you.
Now, before this dude begins to plead his case, this brother that is talking to him, just let him know that he has roots. And this is going back to what I was just telling you about. This person has roots in the islands of America, and he feels like he has the same lineage, the same rights as, and the same claim as a so-called foundational Black American, one who he feels is claiming their indigeneity. And this is a person that has been born and raised out here on the mainland, yet has that one ancestor who was either a prisoner of war, because let's be real, what a slave is. A slave is nothing more than an indentured worker or a prisoner of war. That was indigenous to an island, and that ran away from that island to escape their oppression, and set roots on another part of the continent. Now, he didn't say that person came from Africa. That person came from an island. I was an islander that came to the mainland. And still, the person is indigenous there. That is still an American Indian. And even if the person came from Africa, that one person who is a paternal line, and the majority of the slaves were men, so-called slaves were men, that paternal line, he still has the majority of his lineage, it sounds like, still comes from the mainland. He still has the mainland Aborigine blood in him. And we don't go by blood quantums and different things like that. The most technical we really get is acknowledging the matriarchal line. So that in itself, and those you have those that are indigenous to this land, who are Aborigines of this land, that do have, that one ancestor, or that one, part family member from way down the line back, and 9 times out of 10 they're men that came from different places, yet they conceived in the womb of an indigenous woman and brought forth a seed that is from this soil. He is a seed that is from this soil. That's why he feels like he can relate with the so-called foundational Black American. But you cannot relate to a misnomer, because especially when that misnomer is based off of being native and not Aborigine or indigenous to where they are from. You have to recognize the semantics. That's why Tariq Nasheed is looking at him with the side eye. Like, you may acknowledge that you are one of us, but you're still not one of us. He's playing into that divisiveness right now in front of his face, and he's probably not even catching on to it. But that's another brother from the soil right in front of him. But his ideology, his twisted conception of what it means to be, I can't even say what it means to be indigenous, because he's talking about native being foundational in creating a country, being foundational in creating a corporation. He's not talking about being indigenous to the mainland, Because he's already established that, oh, Choctaw and black, Cherokee and black. So it's now he's saying that you black, you have nothing to do with these indigenous tribes out here. You have nothing to do with these Aborigine tribes. You're something completely different, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get forward into that, but let's go ahead and let this play out. So I really want you to see what this really is about. Sorry. We're going a little long today. Again.
It's a cop-out because that's a projection. Let's be very clear. The divide has always come from the immigrant class. Always. We have been the only ones welcoming them in as brothers and sisters and saying, hey, you black like me, we all black. The minute many of people from the immigrant class, they do something constructive, they go out of their way to distance themselves from us. So if they go get a PhD, well, I'm a Nigerian American, man. I'm the first Nigerian American with a PhD. All right, I mean, good for you, brother. If they win a track meet or whatever, oh, the first Ghanaian American, they go out of their way. This woman who's the spokesperson at the White House, they made a big deal about, well, she's the first Haitian American. She's Haitian. She's a Haitian American. They go out of their way when it's constructive. When a motherfucker rob a liquor store and he's Haitian or he's black, if somebody go rapes 18 women, oh, he's Nigerian, but he's black. He's black.
So whose fault is that, though? It's not.
That's theirs and the white people too. That's theirs and the white people too.
I would say it's.
So who's really doing the projection here? Who really thinks like that? And I've never, like I said, I can acknowledge the fact that this is a possibility. This could be a reality in some spectrums. And okay, let's be advocate. Let's advocate here. Yeah. If they do something and stuff and they label them, they put them under this black label. Everybody, if you haven't noticed, has been put under the black label once they have been moved out here. Now, whether it be legally or lawfully, it's a whole nother different thing, because you have people that come even from different parts of the continent that have a label as white on their ID. The whole Jocelyn Hernandez incident where she had her mugshot and everybody saw that she was classified as white as on her profile. Now, you have that, but at the same time, you do have those stereotypes or those profilings from, those who are not like us that do say, yeah, these are black people. These are just a different type of black people. These are black people from this place or black people from that place. And yeah, you have those who are from these different places that do say, well, I'm a Haitian. They like to, specify who they are so that they don't be labeled under the black code. I am Haitian, I am Jamaican, I am, African, or, half of them don't even say African. They say where they're from. They say what country they're from. Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Nigerian, hey, and that's cool. We have no problem with that. And then I do, like I said, it all comes down to respecting culture. It all comes down to respecting culture and respecting differences and acknowledging each other's differences and standing on who you are. And yes, you do have some that like to claim our culture, and people like to call them tethers and different things like that. But I'm not into the slurs and name calling and different things like that. I don't do that. But you do have some that like to hijack culture, say that they are us when it comes to, doing something, achieving stuff, or, pointing out the accolades. And then, when it comes down to really standing on business and trying to help one another, and they're on some cowardly time, they do switch up and want to be something different, and want to separate themselves. That's an individual problem. Those are individuals on that level. And the same thing with those that are, they're trying to group us with them and them with us and different things like that. And it all falls down into that false label of black. If you want to solve that problem, you want to solve that issue, you have to get away from this black label, period. The black label has to go. I don't care what you think we achieved with this label, what you think this label means to you. It has to be gone. It has to be left behind. We have to leave it in the dust. We have to delineate and declassify. You cannot have delineation without declassification. You're calling yourself black, and then you have the next person that don't know what black is calling that same person that you saying is not black too. You can't change that person's mind because the black has become a monolith in itself. I don't care how much you try to fight it. I don't care how much you try to say what it is and what it's not. I don't care how much you try to put in front of it or behind it, or trying to switch it up and twist it up as he said. It doesn't matter. Black is black. And when you come to the definition of black, you see that it doesn't mean that you are indigenous to this land. It means you come from Africa. It's another ploy. It's another pawn in the out of Africa theory chess game. It's just another pawn to keep us in check. It's another piece on the chessboard just to keep you in check. Those who play chess know what I'm talking about. We got to knock that piece off the board because we've been in check way too long. It's time to make that move. There's so many. There's that one piece on the board on our side that can end this game altogether. But we're so busy looking at the check and running from the check that we're afraid to make that next move. It's time to step up and stand on business. But let's keep going.
It's white media.
Yeah, and them. They do that shit too.
Well, they do it when it's to affirm.
See? But he's talking about, that's a cop-out, that's a projection. But it sounds like he's the one that's projecting right now. That's them. They do it too. I'm sorry. Let's keep going.
Some success.
Yeah. No, but you black when you want to dump your trash on us. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't want nobody's fucking trash. I don't want nobody's trash. If we're gonna be different when it's positive, be different when it's negative. Don't just be black when it's negative, and then we get the stigma for it. In New York right now, there's a lot of crimes against Asian people. The people just running up, hitting Asian people in the head in New York for no reason. We did the research. Many of these people are immigrants. These are not FBAs doing that. We look at the background of these people. We're seeing a lot of these people are not even FBA. But we get the stigma. So when the stop and frisk comes, I'm getting hemmed up because of what this motherfucker just did. We're saying enough is enough. If we're going to be...
For one, stop and frisk has been going on way before immigrants started hitting Asians in the head or whatever he's talking about. And there's been a few incidences of that. And yes, those have been foreigners. And like I said, whether they were labeled as black or not, I haven't seen the articles, but if they were, again, the labeling of black turns you into a monolith. Black turns you into profiling. Black is a status that puts you in a state of mediocrity. It puts you in a state of singularity. You become just a subracial group. You just become a racial group. One of the many racial groups from this big ass continent called Africa. So does it really matter if this person is a foreigner? Does it really matter if this person is from here? If they're black? If they're labeled as black? At this point, it doesn't. Because now you've literally displaced yourself and you've made yourself a part of this monolithic system. This monolithic systemology. So we have to wise up. Holding on to black so hard and you fighting people for this, and this is something that our people never really wanted to in the first place. It's something that was forced upon us and something that was manipulated into the youth to carry on and actually put into policy due to disenfranchisement. So y'all gotta let it go. Y'all have to let it go. Y'all want this problem to be solved, y'all have to let it go. And like I said, I know this isn't going to be one of my popular videos, and I know this is going to be long. We're probably going to go over an hour on this. It's okay. I don't care. This has to be said. It needs to be done. I'm not making a part 2. We're going to bang this all out right here and there. And if you're hanging with me this long and you really appreciate it, because we still got some more to go, like this video, let's get it in the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let's continue with this video.
All one group, let's be all one group. Since you're making it clear that we're different, we're going to be different all across the board. And we have a different, unique lineage, and that's okay. We celebrate everybody's unique lineage. They just had West Indian Day Parade out there in New York. Wonderful thing, celebrate that. Nobody has a problem when everybody else wants to celebrate their lineage. We have a lineage. We have a unique lineage here as Foundational Black Americans. We want to celebrate and acknowledge that. That's not divisive. That's what everybody else is doing.
So what is the solution?
You must understand that the West Indies, if you're from Florida, if you're from the Carolinas, if you're from Virginia, you are a part of the West Indies. Okay? That is West India. That is part of the West Indies. We are, as a whole, honestly, this is India. India Superior. It's what America was. It still is. Well, it's been divided and bordered up now, geographically, by policy. And now they have an India, which was originally Bharat. They've given the title India. But before then, before colonization, this was India. The West Indies, which are still prevalent today, does encompass Florida, the Carolinas, and Virginia. Maybe one or two other states as well, but I'm not sure. You gotta let me know in the comments if you know which ones those are. But let's hurry up and finish this with this guy.
Because there's no way.
There's not a problem for there to be a solution. See, that's not a problem. Us acknowledging our lineage is not a problem. You don't need a solution for a problem that doesn't exist. Everybody should just say, hey, look, we celebrate your uniqueness as a foundational Black American. The problem is when we do something constructive, instead of giving us credit for it, other people want to start getting credit for it, and that's the problem.
But is it really constructive when your uniqueness is not what you say it is, or not even that, not what people think it is? And I'm gonna let you know what I mean by that right now. We're gonna pause for the cause and we're gonna go to something that I found. All right, so I was scrolling one day, 3 days ago to be exact, when Brother Soso had brought this to his community's attention. I'm subscribed to him, and if you're not subscribed to him, make sure you subscribe to this brother, because he's doing real American Indian work on his platform, okay? So subscribe to this brother on YouTube and check him out on Twitter, as well as, I don't know if he has a TikTok or not, but look for him, Sosolina, YT, all right? He says, why is this FBA website saying FBAs came from Africa? We've been telling them 24/7 that they are not Black. They are American Indians. Every time they mention that they are Black, it removes them from their home in America / India, hence the West Indies. Why are you different from your brothers and sisters on the continent if you are still a part of that region? How are you? And like I said, we have different cultures. We have different, we're not a monolith. We never were a monolith. Even our tribes warred against each other way back when. We know different tribes have different vibes. Yet and still today in 2024, there is more of a plausibility of us coming together and reaching common ground. There's more common ground between all of us, more than there has ever been. And we have that opportunity to acknowledge that. Yet and still, and that's just by doing basic research and understanding what you're saying, understanding what these words mean, overstanding. But if we hold on to these misclassifications, these reclassifications, these misnomers, it's going to keep us divided. They're all going to group us up together when it's time for persecution, and then cause division, all with the same fucking word, when it's time for them to make their move. This is being done right before they're playing right in front of our faces. But, or rather yet, he explains and he shows the credentials right here, officialfba.com. Foundational Black Americans. And now that we know who came up with the term Foundational Black Americans, it is time to go to the official Foundational Black Americans website. So we're going to pause for the cause, and we're going to go ahead and take us down to the official website. Alrighty, y'all. Here we are, the moment that we've all been waiting for. And if you've hung with me this long, I know this is a longer video than I usually do. Haven't done a long video like this in a while. Please like this video, because it's very important that we get eyes on this, especially for those who are claiming this label, this mislabel, this misclassification, this tool of division, this divisive tool, this destructive label. We need to bring it to our people's attention. A lot of our people are starting to wake up to this notion and wake up to this fact. I was listening to a recording on Twitter, a recorded space, and where people are starting to realize that this Foundational Black American thing is starting to become a divisive cult. It's really a cult. It's no better than the cults of yesterday when it comes to isolating and really causing division amongst those who are us, and even those who are not like us is causing a problem, because even if those who are not like us don't want to be a part of us, that's fine. Nobody's saying kiss anybody's ass and trying to kumbaya with everyone, but it's all about standing on the truth, knowing who you are as an individual, and knowing where we need to go as a collective. And those who are not like us, who are not a part of, aren't going to be there in the first place. They know that they're not like us, and we can stand on that if we truly claim who we are. But if we're claiming a monolith that groups them in there with us because we're displacing ourselves from our indigeneity, it makes no sense to try to... Now, what are you arguing for? What are you really fighting for? What are you really fighting for at this point? Because you can't even stand on the soil, stand and claim the soil that you come from, because you're claiming something that is not real. Okay? These, by the way, are American Indians. Okay? They're calling them Foundational Black Americans. Welcome to the Foundational Black Americans cultural website. This is a cult. This is a cult. This is culture. It's not an ethnicity. It's not a nationality. It's not a race. It's a cult. It's a culture. Okay? Tells you that right there in the damn title. Well, let's go. Let's get into it. FBA history. Foundational Black Americans are the descendants of the black people who survived on the greatest atrocities in recorded history, which is American slavery. Okay? So they're pushing the slave narrative. These are all black people that came from slavery. All right, FBA, and before I even go forward, there are some people that are here that are indigenous to here, that are from the soil, that are Aborigines. Me personally, I do not, and I have not traced any slaves in my lineage. I have had no slaves in my lineage. I have had laborers in my lineage. I've had sharecroppers, farm laborers, but I have not had any kind of slave in my lineage. And those who do have slaves in their lineage, a lot of them can trace them back to islands or states, not continents, not whole other continents. At least from my personal experience. And if you've had somebody from Africa, from African country that came out here, that came out here as a slave, and that rare occasion, you may have that. Yet it doesn't displace you from your indigeneity if it's only been one person, especially if it was a man. That man had to have planted a seed inside of an indigenous copper-colored Aborigine woman in order for you to be begat on this land. And if that's not true, and you don't, then you must be somebody that is totally different from who we are. You are who your lineage claims that you are. But if you have everybody connected to this land and only have one foreign ancestor that is more than likely a man that came out here for servitude or work, that has established roots out here with an indigenous woman, usually is say with an Indian woman, then from a matriarchal standpoint, from the bloodline, you are still tribe. Okay? With that being said, I have yet to run into a person that has had an African slave in their lineage. Now, there are some that have been mislabeled and reclassified as African, and those who were coming, and particularly in the 16th century, 17th century, that were being misplaced from this land, kidnapped from this land, captured from this land, and taken to the breaking grounds via the Bahamas, Trinidad, Jamaica, the sugar plantations and stuff, to be turned into workers that forced against their will, and then brought back into the mainland and sold as prisoners, as so-called slaves. Yes, there have been those instances, but like I said, they were originally from this soil. They were reclassified as Africans after they were taken off the land, and there were some that have actually been shipped to Europe, and those that have been shipped, there have been some that have been shipped to actual Africa via the Atlantic slave trade. It did happen, yet did not happen the way that people say it happened. Did not happen the way that that it was taught to us. It was taught to us in reverse. They took people from here and shipped them out there. And then there were some that were from here that willfully and voluntarily went out there and established colonies in cooperation with the United States government and Britain. They did that. But yet and still, if that's not your story, then what are you really fighting? Why are you fighting these people? Why are you fighting this? Why are you playing this black game? Why are you playing this? Because they're sitting there telling you in your face. FBA are the descendants of the black people who built the United States from scratch. The United States from scratch. They built the United States from scratch. So now you're saying that these black people built the United States from scratch. We know who really built the United States from scratch. It was the indigenous copper-colored Aborigine that were already here. Built the United States from scratch. When we say the United States, we're talking about the corporation. Again, the corporation built the United States from scratch. But there was a landmass here before the United States. We were here way before the United States. says, but this history did not start in 1619. No, the history of FBA started almost 100 years earlier. So these people don't trace no further back than the 16th century. The first document, and let me look, let's the first documented foreign settlers in the New World of North America were the enslaved black people who were brought over by Spanish colonizer Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón in 1526. So when you say that you are a foundational black American, you are saying that you are the first documented foreign settler. Let that sink in. You are not indigenous to this land if you call yourself and claim yourself as a foundational black American. You are not a copper-colored Aborigine when you call yourself a foundational black American. You are not originally from this soil when you claim yourself as a foundational black American. You are the first descendant of the first documented foreign settler in the New World of North America, where the enslaved black people who were brought over by Spanish colonizer Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón in 1526. So you were brought over by a Spanish colonizer from wherever the hell you came from. So this doesn't even say you came from Africa. This just says you were enslaved and you came from wherever you were brought over by a Spanish colonizer. But we know the game that they're playing. And when you listen to Dr. Claude Anderson, and when you listen to Tariq Nasheed, and you listen to all these different scholars over there, they push the out of Africa theory. And they wanted to jazz it up and try to twist it up and make it sexy all they want to, but it's still the op. It's still going against our indigeneity. Hence why he got mad on one of his lives, talking about, oh, this is a red Indian and is claiming all this, and you're not an Indian, you're not a this, you're not a that. He has a disdain for Aborigines. Why? Because he knows what he claims takes away from your indigenous heritage. It's all a game. And he tells you this right here. Right here. Shortly after Ayllón and the 600 other Spaniards' arrival to the area that would later become the South Carolina, Georgia coast, the enslaved black captives launched a successful revolt, forcing the few remaining Spanish enslavers to ultimately retreat from the area back towards the Caribbean. So now he's saying that those were people that were brought over. They brought over and then they decided to revolt. All of a sudden, they just knew about the land, and they knew everything about the land to cause a revolt, to do guerrilla warfare, to basically run the people that brought them over on these little raggedy ass boats from wherever the hell they came from. All these people, just strength in numbers, they overpowered all 600 of these arrivals and Spaniards and ran them out of the area. It sounds like he's confusing an Indian war with a fairy tale. That's what it sounds like. The liberated black people amalgamated into the local Native American society. The liberated black people amalgamated into the local Native American society. And this was a new historic chapter in what would ultimately become the culture of the foundational black Americans. Do you see how he puts this native narrative? Again, a native is not aboriginal to this land. A native was not here from the beginning. I don't care when they came. And you can talk about these Native Americans today that we know. And like I said, I don't like to talk about them too much, but we're going to talk about it today. They know they are not originally from this land. Why? Because all of their so-called elders tell you that they came over here 10,000, 14,000, 15,000 years ago. Supposedly. From a Bering Strait, from crossing a land bridge. And then migrating and moving all over. Look. That don't sound like an Aborigine to me. So now, not only are you calling yourself a slave, you're calling yourself a black person. And black, we know, is nothing more than a subracial group from Africa. That's why he doesn't even care to mention that they come from Africa, because he knows what black means. He doesn't think you know what black means. But we're going to reinforce that, and we're going to show you what black really is. In black and white, I'm going to show you today what it really means so that we don't have any kind of confusion. It's not just my words. These are official documents that say what black is, and I'm going to show you that after we finish reading this. The liberated black people amalgamated into the local Native American society, and this was a new historic chapter in what would ultimately become the culture of foundational black Americans since 1526, not since the beginning, not since time immemorial. Since 1526, you have a date. As a foundational black American, you have a date on your arrival. You are not from here. That's what you're claiming when you're saying you're foundational black American. You're not from here. Since at least not before 1526, not until a Spaniard brought you over here. It was after a Spaniard brought you over here in 1526, the culture of foundational black Americans has been that of building, resisting, perseverance, and fighting for justice. So as soon as y'all came out here all broken, battered up, and no good for nothing but working in a field and just being a slave, all of a sudden y'all turned into the goddamn Avengers and became the building, resisting, persevering, and fighting for justice. In 1526, y'all came in here hitting the ground running. Y'all decided, we don't want to be slaves anymore, and just started fighting. After getting your butt whooped and put in a boat to come over here in the first place. Then all of a sudden you just had an epiphany. I don't know, it was that where they say they went South Carolina, Georgia coast. It was that Carolina, Georgia air just hit you all up in the crack of your ass, and you got some superpowers, and just started resisting and persevering and fighting for justice. It's all bullshit. It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale. It's no different than Marvel. It's no different than Roots. FBA are exceptional people, and we recognize, celebrate, and give honor to that lineage. There's no such thing. There is no lineage called foundational black American. And we're going to show you right now what black means. I'm going to pause for the cause. We're going to show you this and close out. Again, y'all, here we are. This is an official document from the United States Office of Personnel Management. Guide to Personnel Data Standards. Ethnicity and race identification. Skip down. Racial categories. and the definition of that category. Once again, you should know American Indian or Alaska Native. Alaska Native. We know who they mean by Alaska Native. But we're focusing on this right here. American Indian. American Indian. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South America, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or community attachment. What do we call ourselves out here, outside of being black? They call us the so-called black what? Community. We have communal ties that have origins here on this landmass and this continent. We are communally attached. They displaced us and removed us from our tribes. So the tribal affiliation is no longer there unless you submit to being federally recognized or to be a part of a tribe who is not recognized. Some do have tribal status and maintain tribal status, but the majority of the people that are here during the Removal Act have been removed and displaced from their indigenous tribes. Yet, when we moved and when we migrated out west, we maintained community, communal ties. Excuse me. Ooh. Let me drink some water. It's getting real passionate. Oh boy. Excuse me. Ooh. That was the last of my water, so I'm going to wrap this up. Sorry. Okay. So that's American Indian right there. Person having origins in any of the original peoples of North and South Americas, including Central America, and who maintains tribal affiliation or attachment. Tribal affiliation or community attachment. We have community attachment. From the Removal Act all the way down to the Great Migration, we have always maintained a sense of community amongst ourselves. From New York, down into Atlanta, down into here in California, and everywhere in between, we have always maintained community attachment. And our ancestors and our elders have always known who they are. We were just displaced. We were removed. We were misclassified, reclassified, suppressed and oppressed from our true identity. But now in 2024, we have the opportunity to claim who we truly are, and that is American Indian. Now, if you got some Alaska Native in you, that's a whole nother thing. Hey, your people come from, they group them in with us now. But understand the difference between an American Indian and an Alaska Native. A Native is someone who was here because Alaska was once a part of Russia. Let's not forget that. Once a part of Eurasia. Let's not forget that. But now that you've become grafted into this corporation, you are now a native of this land, and you maintain that tribal or that community attachment because your people didn't know anything else outside of Alaska. Hey, that's fine. Okay, they group you in with us on that level. That's fine. But when you take yourself away from this land, this is when you take yourself away from this land. When you start claiming black or African American. Why would they have black next to African American? Again, why would they have black? I don't care if you put foundational in front of it and leave out the African and put American. Foundational black. It doesn't matter. Black or African American. What does it say? Man, only one line. It's only one line to describe it. You only need one sentence. Very concise. A person having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. So, hey, subracial group. Okay, I'll take that back. It's not absurd, but black racial groups of Africa. What in the world is a black racial group? We are not black people. We are copper toned. We are shades of brown. We are not black pigmented. Turn off your phone right now. Or put your phone and put your screen lock on your phone right now. And hold that phone, or not even. Just turn your phone over. If you have a black phone, turn your phone over and put it next to your forearm right now and look and see if you're really black. Find something black in your house and put yourself next to it and see if that matches your skin tone. Turn off your TV and stand next to it and take a picture of yourself. Take a selfie and see if you blend in with your TV in front of your TV. You don't, because you're not black. Nobody is black. This whole category in itself is a misnomer. It's a misnomer. Having origins in any of the black racial groups of Africa. Find a black racial group in Africa. Find a black racial group. And I'm not talking about tribes, because the tribe is different. A tribe has origins. I'm talking about a group of black people. Just a random ass group of black people. Find a racial group of black people in Africa. You got over 54 countries to choose from. Find black land in Africa. Find the group of black in the continent of Africa. Once you find that, make a video. Let me know. And when you find this group, and if you do find this group, and that's what the group you want to be part of, then by all means go ahead and do that. That's all of you. You can trace your lineage all the way to a black racial group of Africa. If you can physically trace your lineage, I'm talking about birth certificates, death certificates, censuses, ship ladings, registries. You can find a black racial group in Africa that your ancestor came from. You got names and dates. Then by all means, go on with your black self. Do your thing. More black power to you. But I tell you this right now. There ain't no power in this, because there was no other people labeled black anywhere besides us. It is a misclassification. It is a reclassification. It is a misnomer. This whole line right here is bullshit. That's why it's only one sentence. You see, everybody else has multiple, has far more detail, has far more specifics. Even the Asian, the Far East, Southeast Asian, or the Indian subcontinent, which means that they know that it's not the real India. Indian subcontinent, which they know is Bharat. They know that it is what they call India Minor. We were India Major, India Superior, because we are the original India. Hence the West Indies. But that's a whole nother subject for another matter. But yeah, they have specifics. They break it down to a T. And every other group, Even the white people, so-called white, having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, the Middle East, or North Africa. That in itself is a misnomer as well, because you have different... But let's focus on us. Let's focus on us. We're so worried about everybody else, right? Let's focus on us. We are not black. We are not African American. We have been here since the beginning. And if you have come from another place, you know who you are. You know where you come from. If you come from Africa, you come from any country in Africa, you should be able to trace your people by name to a country, to a region, to a tribe, by name, by dates, not by a racial group. The hell is that? Okay? But anyway, that's what this is. And that's what we're going to end on. And we're going to stand on American Indian. I don't care what anybody says. Foundational Black American is not a real thing. Black in itself is not a real thing. And to be causing so much division, and to the point where this Haitian woman, like I said, I have no ties to Haiti. You know, I have no ties to the islands. I've had no slaves in my lineage, nor have I had any others that came from different islands or anything of that nature. All of my people came from the mainland. Yet and still, we recognize the whole continent as our brothers and sisters. Yet this one person who was not disrespecting our culture in any kind of way, it was a young woman not disrespecting our culture in any kind of way, was just standing on having pride in her country, having pride in not even her country, just having pride in her identity, in her ethnicity, being proud to be a Haitian. That's all she said. I'm proud to be Haitian in her post, and she had Haitian flags in her profile or whatever. And man, these people who was FBA all day, foundational Black Americans, you a tether, you this, you that, calling her all kinds of names and slurs and stuff, and you're not from here. Go back to where you come from. What do you sound like? What do you sound like? You sound like those people who are not from here trying to tell somebody to go back where they come from. And when you look up foundational Black American, you realize that your ass is claiming something that states that you are not from here. So get your shit together before you try to tell anybody who they are and where they come from and to go back where they come from. Because that Haitian woman is still a part of the Americas. And our people traveled. Our people migrated. Our people went back and forth from the islands to the mainland. Hence why a lot of our people have roots in the islands. You disrespecting them, you're disrespecting their heritage, and if you have some in your lineage and you haven't done your genealogy and you claiming this FBA bullshit, you're disrespecting yourself. So again, get your shit together. This is Chief Steve signing off. Tata Kista, I cherish you all. Please like this video and subscribe. Share. Get this information out there. Let's start putting these people in check that's doing this division, that's causing this division amongst our indigenous people, and that are causing nothing but chaos and confusion amongst the mainlanders because they think that they're claiming something that they not. They think they're claiming something that says that they're a part of this land, but they clearly are not. It's time to put these people in check, and those who do know that are still causing this confusion, it's time to cut them at the knees. I'm not calling out for violence. I'm calling out for accountability. Let them know that they're wrong and that they're living in a fairy tale. It's time to stand on business, as they like to say. Chief Steve signing off. Tatakista, I cherish you all. Nyakoki, thank you. We'll see you next time.